Welcome to Average Home Theater. I am Nelson, and this is
Producer Nick. Hi, everybody.
Producer Nick. Welcome back. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus.
Yep.
I have been very busy at work. So have you. And but Halloween is quickly approaching, and we wanted to do something that's a movie that's considered horror. You know, it's really beloved by the horror community.
Beloved horror cult classic.
Yeah, and
I've never seen before.
You had never seen it. Yeah. The Hitcher, 1986, starring Rutger Hauer and C. Thomas Howell. And I've been after you for years to watch it. And finally, after I got this beautiful Second Sight edition, 4K remaster, I guess it gave you the motivation to say, okay, I need to finally watch this.
It had been, you talked about it for a long time. It was on Max. It had been on my watch list for a really long time. And I came across it a bunch of times and was like almost put it on and then watched something else instead several times.
It happens.
But it's Halloween season and I've been watching kind of scary horror thriller type movies the last couple of weeks or so. Been trying to catch up on a bunch of things I've never seen before. And I decided it would be a perfect time to watch The Hitcher for the first time.
So I want to give a little bit of a backstory on my history with this movie, right? Mm-hmm. Like many movies that I watched growing up, I was way too young to be watching them. My parents were just, my dad worked all the time, so he was never home, especially like during the summertime when we probably watched most of these movies. And I think my parents' neighbors, they had HBO. And they would just record on VHS a bunch of movies. Right. Well, The Hitcher is one of those movies. And as a kid, this movie scared me more than traditional horror movies did.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because of the possibility of it, like, could happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Those are always much not necessarily scary, but just kind of unsettling.
And this one's very unsettling.
Could happen to me or someone that I know.
Especially for a 6, 7, 8-year-old. I was watching this movie. I was way too young to watch it. Yeah. And so there are certain scenes, and we'll get to them as we talk about it, that no matter what, I even went several years without watching it because I never owned it on VHS. When I got older and I was able to start buying movies, because by that point, I guess life, whatever, and kind of forgot about The Hitcher, right?
Yeah.
And it may have a DVD release, but I'm not even 100% sure now. I think it may have a DVD release, but they may even be bootlegs. Like people put these on DVD.
Yeah, put it on a disc,
So it kind of I just kind of forgot about it. And a few years back, I started getting back into really wanting to watch horror movies, and I became a member of Killer Flicks on Facebook, and people were always talking about The Hitcher. I was like, man, The Hitcher, and then it actually
brought it all back.
It brought it all back, and I was like, man, that movie. And so all of the scenes that I can remember started coming back to me, and I looked for it, and it was on Max because I think it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was on Max. And I watched it, and the quality was terrible.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's what when I called you when I started it up. Like, it's like I'm watching a copy of a VHS.
I think it's a VHS. Somebody recorded it, and they just put it on streaming. Is how they do that actually a lot. So
I almost when I saw that, I almost turned it off.
No,
but then
the effects.
It was the aesthetic was perfect. It was great.
So I bought this a few months ago. Actually, I paid like $2 for it. But then they announced this 4K, so I pre-ordered it. Very expensive, but it was worth it because it looks really good. Now, it's not by any means the greatest 4K transfer ever, but I really think the source material was a problem.
Yeah. Well, didn't you say they found like?
Well, I think I was incorrect on that because when I looked it up, I think they had to remaster it from digital. Okay. Like basically what they had to try to basically upscale it and remaster it from that.
Okay.
I could be wrong. If anybody knows better, please tell me. But either way, it was very difficult to get it done, which is why it took so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, So it stars, if you're watching this and you don't know, it stars Rutger Hauer, C. Thomas Howell, and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh, spoiler alerts.
Yes, spoiler alerts, because we're not holding back.
Yeah.
Okay, so your initial thoughts. So you turn the movie on. I want to know, since it was your first time watch, the opening scene right up at, like, when he gets Rutger Hauer in the car.
I thought all the driving stuff I thought was neat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's old school, it's before special effects and all that stuff, so they actually did all that stuff.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, jumping ahead, but like the chases towards the end and stuff like that, the driving work and the stunt work and stuff, I thought was great. I honestly didn't know the movie overall was nothing like what I expected. I kind of knew basically like it was a hitchhiker chasing down, you know, whatever. I liked it from the beginning. When he picks the guy up, Rutger Hauer is perfect for this. He was very creepy. I haven't seen a ton of Rutger Hauer movies, but this is easily my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
He was very creepy, very convincing, very cold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love that you don't know why he's doing what he's doing. You don't know where he doesn't have a name. He gives the guy a name.
Right, John Ryder.
When they search for him, they can't find any
no records.
on him.
Yeah, they run his fingerprints. There's just no.
So yeah, I love that you don't even know why, and you kind of get a sense of why he's picking on this guy in particular, I guess, towards the end.
Yeah. So as a kid, I just really remember the as he picked him up, you know, because he was tired and all that.
Yeah.
So he picks him up.
Actually, kind of fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, he actually fell asleep at the wheel, almost gets hit. He sees this hitchhiker and he's so, okay, well, I'm gonna pick this guy up because I'm tired and it helped keep me awake. He says that later on. You don't hear that,
right?
But he says it later on. But so he picks him up, and as a kid, the scene of him pressing his leg down because of the vehicle that he sees on the side of the road,
right?
The Volkswagen Beetle, and asking why he did that, and what do you want from me? And he starts laughing, and he says, "Well, that's exactly what he said."
Right.
Right. So all of that whole conversation and him saying, "Well, he said that right before I cut off his legs."
Mm-hmm.
And I cut off his head, and I'm going to do the same to you. Right. Something to that effect. And as a kid, I'm watching like...
Yeah, you don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, that of course, always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And it very much sets the tone for what you're getting into.
And that's, if I remember, that's kind of a long, like the open...
Oh, it's long. It's probably
scene.
like a 10-minute scene.
Yeah. And it, like, they don't just throw it in your face that this is a bad guy, it's a bad situation. It's kind of gradual.
Yeah,
kind of break it.
It's like,
slow.
Okay, what's his deal? He's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we knew going in what's going on, but I'm guessing audiences were probably
back
what
in the
the hell
day.
am I watching?
Right. Yeah. So I did like that aspect, the whole opening of it.
When he put his knife to C. Thomas Howell's face, all improv. So C. Thomas Howell didn't know how to act.
Yeah.
But he just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah.
He was 17 filming this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, he said he was very intense. He scared the crap out of him.
I'm sure. He seemed like a very intense guy.
There's a very good interview with C. Thomas Howell on this.
Okay.
That I might show you a little bit of it before you leave tonight. But if you get if you get this disc and the special features, watch that C. Thomas Howell interview. It gives a lot of insight on Rutger Hauer and how intense of a person he really was. I mean, It wasn't much of a stretch. The roles that he was playing, it wasn't much of a stretch.
He wasn't doing a whole lot of acting.
Yeah, I mean, he was acting, but he's an intense guy for real. So that really affected me as a kid.
Yeah.
And I just, the next scene basically is a little bit later when it's daylight. And he
ditches him.
He ditches him. He gets him out the car. And he pushed him out. Yep. And later on, he
was very excited. I remember he was very excited and happy to get rid of him.
The station wagon scene, whenever he's in the back, and then C. Thomas Howell sees the kids. He's waving and all that, and all of a sudden, Rutger Hauer has a teddy bear and he moves the bear.
Mm-hmm.
That's the. I mean, I just remember that like it was yesterday as a kid. Being like, oh my god.
And he knows those people. He tries to warn them. And
right. He knows it's gonna happen.
The next thing you see, he finds them.
Yep. Later on, he finds them dead on the side of the road. So it's and what's interesting is you would think that the majority of the movie would take place at night, but the majority of it takes place during the day. Like broad daylight. Dude's doing all this crazy stuff. And the location is great. Doing it on basically Route 66, I think.
Out in West Texas or whatever.
It's desolate. Let
me say.
Scary. Are you sure about this?
I Googled it
but I don't remember seeing El Paso. Is El Paso?
I remember hearing them say El Paso on the radio. When the police were talking on the radio, I remember saying them. That's why I think it's in around that area. They said something about El Paso on the radio. I don't think it outright says, and maybe I don't remember if the police units maybe had some kind of
maybe they're coming from El Paso. Or
I just remember hearing El Paso. El Paso is not between Chicago and
we're gonna have to rewatch and try to find that scene and hear what they say.
Totally ruined it.
I don't remember anything about El Paso.
It wasn't outright said. It was the radio chatter when they were at a police station or
maybe he's been leaving a trail since El Paso or something.
Maybe something like that. Because there is a route that goes through North Texas, but not.
I don't know. It was all filmed in California though. It wasn't filmed anywhere in Texas. But so I love the location. Because I mean on that route. My sisters went on a vacation not long ago, and you go sometimes several hundred miles without seeing anything, or a couple hundred. You don't see anything.
It's a big
it's a very, very scary situation. And of course, this is 1986. There's no cell phones.
No cell phones.
There's no.
You gotta find a payphone or some a diner or whatever.
All of those things make because if you try to do this now, I don't know how effective. I mean, you have to. Like most movies nowadays, they have to figure out a way to make the phones not work. You don't have to do that then.
Because you can pretty much call for help from anywhere nowadays.
Like the movie Cujo wouldn't work.
Right.
And she would just pick up the phone. Hey, there's a dog that won't let me out the car.
We'll be right there, man.
Yeah, okay. Ping your location.
So the opening I liked. It took a turn. I knew about the the trying to frame him for whatever. I knew about that just from reading a description, but that took a positive turn for me when you realize it's not just a slasher movie. Like this kid's also fighting to, like Rutger Hauer is trying to pin all this stuff that he's doing, trying to pin it on this kid.
And that's interesting.
Who had nothing to do with anything.
But I really wonder if he really was trying to pin it on the kid. I don't think he was. I think he was completely toying with him the whole time and was toying with the police at the same time. I really don't think he was trying to set him up for it.
I
think it was just a
went
big
that way
game.
And he went along with it.
I think it was just a big game. So I think it was.
And one thing that I loved about that aspect of it, something that was really effective for me, is that when they're interviewing C. Thomas Howell, they have him at the police station, they're interviewing him, and they ask him the questions, whatever. They're pressing him. He walks out the room, and the police officer's like, "This guy didn't do this."
He's like he ain't a killer.
They knew that he didn't do it, and they were just trying to sort it out or whatever. And then what happens, and he's still in the middle of it, even though he had people that knew that he wasn't any part of the killing or anything like that. I thought that was neat. Like it gives you that sense of frustration, like, oh man, they know he's innocent, but they're still going to be hunting this kid.
But technically that was the safest place you would think would be the safest place for him.
Right. And that was one of the big things when he's in the cell. He wakes up in the morning, he's having the dream about Rutger Hauer. He wakes up, he realizes his cell door is open. He goes and finds all the murdered police officers. That was my thing. Like, just go back in your cell and close the door. But, he was 17, 18-year-old kid at the time in a stressful situation. He decided to run. I get it. It didn't ruin it for me.
But, so before that, we skipped over Jennifer Jason Leigh, who she is really good in this. It wasn't a very difficult role. She didn't have a whole lot of lines, but I think her personality fitted
Yeah.
Because, Jennifer Jason Leigh's a little different. You know, she's not a traditional type of person. You can just tell she's a little off sometimes, and she plays those off characters really well.
Yeah,
but she had to be kind of
isolated.
She had to be kind of tough.
Yeah.
And she's obviously a person that can take care of herself. You can tell in real life she's probably really that way. So I liked her in this.
Yeah.
Nash, I think is her name there. Yeah, Nash. So I enjoyed her performance, and
she was young. This had to have been one of her.
She's actually a couple years older than C. Thomas, so she was probably around 20.
Okay.
The finger scene, as a kid, that always
French fries, yeah.
And even after watching it more than once, like, when's he gonna pick up the finger? And I did it watching it this time. I was like, when's he gonna pick up the finger? Because I know he's gonna pick it up.
Waiting for it.
Did you see that coming? No?
I did not see that coming. No, I did not see that coming. Yeah, that was good. And I jumping ahead, my favorite scene in the movie was the scene with her in it when they're later on, when they're in the hotel room, and he's in the bathroom and she's in the bed asleep, and the camera's kind of panning, and C. Thomas Howell's just standing there in the hotel room. That was my favorite part.
You mean Rutger Hauer?
Rutger Hauer. Yeah. Sorry, that was my favorite.
He lays down next to her.
Yeah, that surprised me. I was not waiting for that. So yeah, lots of little moments like that.
Oh, so her death scene was Rutger Hauer's idea.
I read that.
It was supposed to be, I don't remember what it was supposed to be, but it was supposed to be something else, and he said, no, how about we tie her up in between two vehicles?
I think he was gonna, if I remember what I saw, he was gonna be like he hit her with the truck and
that's right, pinned up against the building
or something. Yeah, is what I had seen. Yeah, that was pretty tough way. It probably felt amazing for a second.
So getting to his stretch. Like So getting to his motivation. I feel, especially when they're in the vehicle and he tells them to put the gun there and pull the trigger, I really feel that once he saw that C. Thomas Howell had a little bit of grit and pushed him out the vehicle, and it kind of became a game.
Yeah.
I think when it was coming to a head, I mean, he was surrounded by police and he had the girl. I really think he wanted C. Thomas Howell to end it. Like, he felt like he was worthy enough to end it. And I think he's more of a complex character than most people, because I think to me, it felt like he struggles with it. He enjoys it, and he knows he shouldn't enjoy it.
He knows it's wrong, yeah.
He knows it's wrong, and he needed somebody to end it. That's how it felt to me. Yeah. Maybe I'm just completely off and reading too much into it.
No,
but
I see that.
Watching it as an adult, I felt that the last time I watched it, when I bought the VHS a few months ago, and then watching it again, I really feel that's how I interpret it.
That's the great thing about movies. If that's the way you interpret it, that's the way you saw it, that's the way it made you feel, and it ain't wrong.
Well, Jeff from
I agree
Jeff Corbello from Red Dog Terrain. Watch it. He's got a YouTube channel, Red Dog Terrain. Watch it. He makes miniatures for D&D and stuff like that. Great channel. But anyway, he told me, because he just watched it after I told him.
For the first time?
So he watched it for the first time last week, and he thought the Hitcher was a figment of his imagination. Up until it wasn't.
Of C. Thomas Howell's imagination?
Yeah, he thought that that the Hitcher wasn't real. That it might have been him doing it the whole time and trying to blame it on this fictional person, but it really was him.
It was him, yeah.
Yeah, until it wasn't.
Yeah, they kind of proved that.
They kind of proved that with the police station and all that stuff. But
yeah.
So that was an interesting take. I never would have thought of that. He was
falling asleep at the wheel and something. Yeah, I see that.
So maybe he was thinking maybe he is the killer.
Yeah.
He's just telling everybody it's this hitchhiker I picked up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting take. Growing up watching it, I knew.
You would have never.
So that thought never even crossed my mind.
Yeah, you wouldn't have put that together.
I thought that was an interesting little take.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was different than what I thought it was going to be. More of a thriller. The little twists and turns and all that stuff, but I enjoyed it.
The ending is kind of abrupt. I know there's grumblings about it. But once again, he just kind of wanted him to shoot him. I'm telling you, in my opinion, he wanted it to end.
Yeah.
And C. Thomas Howell was probably the first person he met that was worthy enough to do it.
But
because think about it.
He escaped.
He told
obviously the only one that ever got away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He laughed at the other guy saying, "What do you want? What do you want from me?" And he laughed about it.
Yeah.
But once he got pushed out of the vehicle, and he's like, "Oh, this one's got a little bit of grit."
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
And
it's a good movie though.
He obviously enjoyed terrorizing him when when all that was going on. Yeah,
but the stunt work is great. You have the vehicle on fire after they blow up the gas station. You have the helicopter chase scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff is really
good. The
good.
truck going through the rugged terrain and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And it didn't it wasn't received well. Siskel and Ebert basically gave it all zeros. Say like nobody should ever watch it.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. The violence was so bad. Like, this is mild. When you talk about violence nowadays, I mean, this is nothing.
Yeah, they would have shown the death of Nash would have been shown in
yeah, they would show it. But in 1986, they shunned it. But I mean, there were movies made before this that were way more violent than that. But I guess because it was mainstream, maybe.
And I didn't understand that criticism. I didn't think it was overly violent compared to. Yeah. I mean, when was RoboCop made? That just comes to mind.
The same year,
90s,
87. I
mean, this didn't have anything. Yeah, it didn't hold.
But they gave RoboCop crap. They were going to give it an X rating. You had to cut back some of the violence in that. But remember that 80s Reagan era, that a lot of over censorship was going on, and
they slapped the little black and white stickers on the music.
Yep, they started doing that. So The Hitcher.
Parental advice.
If you haven't watched it, you should. And if you watched it, let me know what you think. And I give it 2 thumbs up. Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, I think they were wrong. 2 thumbs up. I agree. I liked it.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get out of here, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.